What's good, Steelers Nation? Week 2 of the preseason is upon us. Jumping on here to preview their matchup versus the Buffalo Bills. Hopefully, we see a little bit more inspiring, focused effort from this group, especially in the first half. Kind of started sloppy last week, but Mike Tomlin said it'll be roughly 4 series for the starters. Also, getting our first look at Russell Wilson in the black and gold. I feel like that's really exciting. So, let's talk about some things I'll be watching for, whether it's guys building off of strong preseason openers or maybe just needing a bounce back of some sort. So, just before we get started, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, drop me a comment. All that stuff is a quick, easy way to support the channel. Also, if you want even more content, consider becoming a member. I dropped a film room over there on Peyton Wilson, breaking down his preseason debut, where he excelled, some things I want to see get cleaned up, all that stuff. Think you guys will enjoy that for sure. Just remember, all pro members, you get exclusive content, early access to some videos like this one. There's a lot of good stuff over there. So really with the preview, man, I think the conversation really has to start with Russ, man. He's missed a lot of time with that calf injury over the course of training camp. I'll be looking very closely to see, his level of mobility, even on such things as like bootlegs, handoffs on wide zone, how he maneuvers the pocket with those kind of quick twitch mannerisms that you really need to have. And also, like, what does his report look like from the receivers, from a timing standpoint and all that stuff, that chemistry that you really need. Just as much as I'd love to kind of get like one of those deep boom ball shots to Calvin Austin or somebody like that for an explosive play. I really just want to see this quarterback room, man, like continue to try to work to reduce those negative plays, whether that's, pressure to sack ratio or avoidance, something even simpler in the form of like quarterback center exchanges, which we saw kind of ruin a couple drives in the preseason opener, which is kind of a bummer because they had some momentum, had some good things on the table from a schematic standpoint that kind of were ruined just by some self-inflicted mistakes. But you all have heard me say this before. I find it really difficult to kind of evaluate quarterbacks without a live rush. It's just a different game. So I'm excited to see Russ in pads, fully participating. Hopefully we get, 4 drives. Hopefully they can put the ball in the end zone a couple times. That'd be really good. Inspire some optimism and all that stuff. Just in terms of, Justin Fields, I think it was a bit of a mixed bag from the opener versus Houston, but I really liked, the speed of his drop. That was something we talked about really needing to improve. We saw that dime to Van Jefferson on the Seattle route, sail concept, which we went over in the film room. He did miss Jefferson on that outbreaker, kind of left the ball inside, which is a good way to kind of get yourself picked off. But it was technically caught. I think Mike Tomlin could have challenged it. It is what it is. But I would really appreciate if Mike Tomlin just let us see more of him Saturday night. That's really my biggest complaint. I'm trying not to complain too much about the preseason, but with all due respect, I just don't need to see Kyle Allen for 3 quarters. It just doesn't move the needle for me or really help me create content for you guys, to be honest. So we'll see what his workload is like, but I'm optimistic that we'll see a little bit more, maybe a 4 series or something like that for Justin as well. Talked about those center quarterback exchange mishaps, but someone who made virtually no mistakes last week, Zach Frazier. Nate Herbig banged up recently. I'm not sure if he's going to play very much, if at all, but I would really like to see Frazier with the one, especially with a good matchup. Buffalo has a guy, Ed Oliver, really, really good player, especially from a athleticism standpoint, really quick first step, can get on your edges really quickly. But it's preseason. I don't want to give out over my skis or anything like that, but in the opener, like, he looked exactly like I was thinking he would and also like I was hoping he would. So I thought he did a really good job, creating movement in the run game. Saw some really encouraging stuff from a movement standpoint out in space. We saw him get to the second level. We saw him pull a couple times. And I thought he anchored really well in pass pro against power. So a lot of encouraging stuff there from the opener against the Texans. So want to see him continue to build on that. But I really remain, pretty steadfast in my belief that this is a week 1 starter at the pivot. And I think the Steelers probably going to end up seeing it that way. But, we'll see how he, builds off that performance. So kind of on the other end of the spectrum, I mentioned some guys that I wanted to see kind of bounce back performances from. Broderick Jones, I thought he really struggled last week, even beyond the technical stuff in pass pro, which is kind of, mainly stuff that I expected. I was really underwhelmed with his performance in the run game, a couple blown blocks in that regard, one near the goal line that kind of ruined what I thought was going to be a potential touchdown play. He's not 100% right now with the elbow brace. Steelers really, really need a step forward from him. But bare minimum, they need for him to be like an average or above average run blocker this year. I still think that is going to happen. But I'd really like to see a bounce back performance this week. It seems like with no Troy Fautanu for the rest of the preseason, seems like we'll probably see him get most of his reps at right tackle, maybe some at left. We'll see what the distribution of labor is there. But really want to see Broderick, play a little bit better. Buffalo's got some edge rushers too that I I think will be a good test for him. A guy like Greg Rousseau had some really strong moments last year, so that'd be a good matchup. Von Miller, I know they're still working him back. Not sure if how much, if at all, he'll play, but Buffalo's got some good players on that side of the ball. As far as the receivers, I know that's really dominated the conversation over the past several weeks, really most of the offseason. But I know Van Jefferson's had a pretty good camp. He looked really good when I was in Latrobe. He had that really nice route early in the Texans game on that Seattle route for a big gain. I do want to see more physicality from him as a blocker. We talk a lot, or you guys have heard me talk a lot about that kind of like Mac Hollins role, some of the things that Arthur Smith's scheme requires those guys to do in the run game. That's just a big question that I really still need answered. So there's a lot of valid questions really about the room in general. I think Calvin Austin had some really encouraging reps last week. They had him working on the backside as the X receiver in some 3x1 sets. Saw a really nice whip route where he was really able to plant off that foot, drive, and create separation. So we'll see. I think Scotty Miller probably has the inside track if I had to guess on the wide receiver 5 spot. He had a big play last week off play action as well. I still think that Pittsburgh probably should and will likely try to acquire someone outside the organization, but we'll see. There's got to be somebody available and somebody that makes sense. But a long way to go. You want to see some flashes and some continued improvement from the wide receiver room, obviously. Just kind of moving to the defensive side of the ball. I think it really starts up front with the trenches as well. I thought DeMarvin Leal, who we talked about last week, needing to have a strong preseason. He had a really nice game last week. Want to see continued improvement, especially from a pass rush plan standpoint, but I think he's trending in the right direction. He had some really good, nice reps in the run game, generating some lockout, pushing guys backwards, just getting in the backfield a little bit more, being more engaged. But we've heard a lot of encouraging stuff from him. A long way to go still, but at least it seems like we're trending in the right direction finally. So, but I really want to talk about this edge battle, man. This edge 4 battle. Kyron Johnson, awesome last week. Former 6th rounder from Kansas. Super athletic, man. This dude can really get off the rock. He was winning with that quick first step, but he has a ghost move in his bag. Kind of a bit one of those really speedy, bendy guys. Couple of run stops as well. The Steelers may end up preferring a veteran. Given that Nick Herbig is also another one of those speedy, kind of lighter edge rushers, does have a lot of length. They may prefer a veteran, maybe somebody a little bit more stout against the run. But the Steelers just historically, they love their athletic edge rushers. Like there's a certain type of archetype that those guys typically gravitate towards. And, Kyron at least fits the mold from a pass rusher standpoint. Jeremiah Moon had some really nice moments last week too. So these dudes have my attention, man. This battle is going to be a really fun one. I wouldn't expect Alex Highsmith to play very much, if at all, on Saturday. He's working through that groin injury. In my opinion, there's just no sense in kind of pushing through that, especially for a preseason game, even though, we'll probably get some more of the starters in the lineup this week. It sounds like from Tomlin on the defensive side of the ball as well. Graylin Arnold, went from running with the ones a little bit in the slot this past week to going on injured reserve. Benny Bishop's gotten some burn with the starters as well, really throughout camp. Last week, we gave a shout out to running back Jonathan Ward, and he rewarded us with an explosive run, created basically all by himself. That was kind of our sleeper of the week. This week's sleeper of the week, if you could really call it that at this point. Thomas Graham, he's been around the ball a lot during training camp. Like when I was in Latrobe, he produced a splash play in 7 shots. He also dropped another interception inside the red zone. So this dude's done some really good stuff. He only played out 8 snaps last week, but covered a couple kicks as well. We'll see if, maybe he can make things a little bit interesting, potentially push for a 53-man spot. Cam Sutton out the first half of the year. I still think that, Beanie Bishop's probably the guy that locks this job down, but, let's see if we can make this a real battle over the next 2 weeks. So be on the lookout for Graham. He's wearing 37. So as for the other corners, I thought that Corey Trice he actually played a little bit more than I actually realized when I was watching live and did the recap last week, but he's been playing in Dante Jackson's spot with the first team this past week. Jackson was out with like an undisclosed, I think, injury for about 3 days or so, but not sure if Dante goes this week or not, but I do think that continues to speak to the plan that we've talked about as far as having him as the top backup on the outside. Trice made a really nice tackle on the flat last week. I'm just super excited that he made it back on the field, man. I really feel for this kid because he's super talented. He's just missed so much time with injuries, dude, just over the course of his football career. Longtime subscribers to the channel know that I'm pretty bullish on his skill set. Just got to stay healthy, man. I know it's a big question mark, but it is something that I'm going to continue to watch for more and more. So also, I think Darius Rush probably needs to start trending up, start making some plays, start making his presence really known. I think he needs to really show something down the stretch here too. Would not put it outside the realm of possibility that the Steelers continue to, search the market for maybe another corner as well. We've talked a lot about, them maybe adding a wide receiver, but I don't think it's, necessarily crazy to think that they can also add a corner come cut down time. But that's definitely something to watch for. Also, just keep in mind, as you're watching through the games, a lot of you guys know this, but keep in mind which players are contributing on special teams, especially once we get to the second, third preseason game. That's a big clue on how you can tell who are going to take home those last couple roster spots. Your guys 47 through 53, even if they're in potentially inactive guys, maybe might not get a helmet every single week. Those guys pretty much have to play special teams. So it's just something that I'll be eyeing. I'm doing my 53-man roster prediction update on Monday, I think, for Steelers Now. But speaking of Steelers Now, I do want to kind of run something by you guys. They're running a massive sale right now. You can get all the SM Plus, Steelers, Pirates, and Pins content for $10 for the entire year. It's a crazy deal. I don't think they've ever done this before. Some of my feature pieces, deep dives, things like that, get pushed behind that paywall. So if you guys enjoy my writing as well, there's a huge discount and stuff available there. I think it's a huge deal. It's definitely worth it if you're just a Steelers fan, but if you're a fan of like the Steelers, Pirates, Pins, their beat writers and stuff over there, they do a lot of great analysis, even though, I'm not the smartest hockey or baseball guy, but definitely check that out if that's something that you're interested in. And also a huge shout out to our sponsor for the channel, Homage. Grab your Steelers gear, link in the description. They got a lot of cool stuff available, man. I'm gonna be copping some stuff for myself just to wear during football season, but also cop some giveaways for the channel as well. But I really appreciate everyone's continued support for the channel. It's been fantastic. The Arthur Smith film room this week went absolutely bananas. Doubled up with the Peyton Wilson breakdown. I was happy that I was able to get you guys 2 film rooms this week because y'all deserve it. Super excited that, football is back. And I'll at least have 1, hopefully 2 film rooms up next week as well. Really good week for the channel. Shout out to you guys, the sickos, the new subscribers, the new members alike. But I'll be back tomorrow night to recap the game. Hope you guys enjoy the weekend. Peace and love.